They came for my farm in the dead of night. Flames licked the barns, my livestock screamed, and my dog, my loyal companion, was trapped in the inferno. All because one neighbor couldn't control her anger, all because a cat got hurt. I watched everything I built vanish in smoke, powerless to stop it. How could someone turn grief into destruction so coldly, so deliberately? And why did no one see it coming? But this was only the beginning, and what followed would push me to the edge of despair. My farm had always been my sanctuary. Sunrise over golden fields, the soft lowing of cattle, my dog running ahead with uncontainable joy. It was a life built on routine, care, and trust. Neighbors waved politely, the local roads were quiet, and the only sounds at night were the wind through the barns and the distant hoot of an owl. Everything felt safe, predictable, untouchable. And then there was Karen. The neighborhood's self-appointed enforcer, a woman whose smile could hide a storm, whose calm words carried sharp edges. At first, she was just another personality, someone who critiqued fences, lawns, even the way I stored my tools. I thought I could navigate her, avoid her, maybe even outlast her petty obsession. But the incident with her cat hinted at a darkness I couldn't see clearly yet. A single small mistake, my dog defending himself, would soon ignite a chain reaction no fence, no lock, no careful plan could stop. It started as whispers, curious glances, strange questions about my land. Little breadcrumbs of a plan forming quietly, deliberately. I thought I was prepared. I thought I understood her limits. I was wrong. And what came next would burn everything I loved to the ground. He thought the worst was over, but it had only just begun. First, the signs were subtle. Karen's compliments were too pointed, her curiosity too sharp. She asked about my fences, my livestock, my water tanks, questions framed like friendliness, but her eyes calculated. I laughed off the unease, telling myself I was overreacting. But each day, the tension grew. Mailboxes were rifled through, surveyors appeared without warning, checking boundaries or inspecting safety. Every encounter left a chill crawling down my spine. I started locking gates twice, checking cameras endlessly, but nothing could erase the feeling that I was being watched. Neighbors whispered, offering warnings and stories they'd long since buried in fear. I nodded politely, thanked them, and carried on, telling myself vigilance could outlast malice. My dog, usually so cheerful, sensed it too. He stayed close, ears pricked, always scanning. And then came the night that shifted everything. It began with a strange quiet. No emails, no knocks on the door, no reports of fines. Karen had vanished from sight, or so I thought. I let my guard slip, locking my dog in the reinforced cage by the barn, convincing myself that order and caution could prevent disaster. But that calm was deceptive. Small, unsettling incidents started creeping in, a latch slightly loosened, footprints where no one should be, and the faint smell of gasoline near the edge of the property. Each one seemed minor, explainable, ignorable, but together, they built a tension that gripped my chest and refused to let go. I confronted Karen once, under the guise of casual conversation. She smiled, offered cookies I refused, complimented the fences, the water supply, even the placement of my tools. Every word was polite, every smile measured, but every glance carried a weight I couldn't yet name. It was a performance, one designed to make me lower my defenses. And I did. I allowed routine to blind me to the danger forming like a storm just beyond the horizon. Then came the day I would never forget. I left early, thinking my usual rounds would keep everything secure. Smoke curled against the morning sky before I reached the farm. My heart slammed as I saw flames clawing at the barns, livestock scattering, my dog trapped in the cage. Panic overtook thought. I ran, coughing, throwing water, dirt, anything that might reach him. And there she was, Karen, calm, smiling, gasoline can in hand. Our eyes met, and for a second time froze. She didn't run. She didn't panic. She simply watched as my life erupted in flames. The fire consumed everything I had worked for, leaving chaos in its wake. Flames danced across the barns, smoke burned my lungs, and the screams of animals cut deeper than any blade. I fought forward, but the metal cage glowed red, the lock melting under the heat. My dog cried once, and then silence. In that moment, rage and grief collided, searing into something unrecognizable. I fell back, watching helplessly as everything burned, knowing this was no accident. Every odd question, every cookie, every friendly glance now aligned into a terrifying truth. And yet, in the heart of that inferno, I realized I had to survive, to bear witness, to plan. Because this destruction wasn't just personal, it was calculated, deliberate, and far from over. And what she thought would scare me into silence was only the opening act. Flames roared higher than I ever imagined, consuming barns, fences, and everything in their path. The acrid smoke clawed at my throat, my eyes stinging as I ran through the chaos. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum, and every instinct screamed at me to save what I could. But the fire wasn't random. Every spark, every blaze, every collapsing beam was placed with purpose. And then I saw him, my dog, trapped, metal bars glowing red, eyes wide with fear. I lunged, hands blistering, coughing, gagging on smoke, but it was too late. Heat seared my skin, fire dancing across everything I loved. And there she stood, Karen, calm, composed, watching as if the world were a stage and I the actor in her cruelest performance. No panic. No remorse. Just that same icy smile hiding behind feigned civility. I screamed, clawed at the cage, praying, willing him to survive. The flames roared back, mocking my helplessness. The animals scattered in terror, the sound of their screams searing into memory, echoing long after the smoke settled. Every piece of my life, the countless hours, the sweat, the care, turned to ash before my eyes. Rage collided with grief in a storm so fierce I could barely think. I realized then this wasn't just destruction. This was a message, cold and deliberate. My sanctuary had been violated, my trust betrayed, and my family, my dog, my lifeline, torn away. But even in that inferno, a spark ignited within me. I survived. I witnessed. I remembered. Every smile, every cookie, every casual question, every friendly visit, all the breadcrumbs now pointed to the truth. And though fire had tried to erase it, I knew evidence had a way of surviving. My heart pounded not just with grief, but with resolve. She had underestimated me, believed fear could bend me. She was wrong. The smoke swirled around me, licking the blackened remnants of my life, but one thought burned brighter than the flames: this was far from over. And as the fire's roar faded into the sirens in the distance, I knew the reckoning was just beginning. The fire left a scar deeper than any flame could reach. My farm was gone, my livestock lost, my dog taken in an instant of cruelty. I stood among the blackened ruins, lungs raw, hands scorched, but something inside me refused to break. I documented every frame, every clue, every step she took that night. The evidence spoke louder than fear. The authorities acted, the courts listened, and slowly, justice began to unfold. Karen faced the consequences she had tried to escape: arson, cruelty, and a reckoning that stripped her of the power she abused. But the impact went beyond her punishment. It changed me, reshaped my understanding of resilience, and exposed the quiet ways hatred and entitlement can destroy lives. It reminded me, and everyone who bore witness, that injustice often hides behind smiles, polite words, or calm appearances. It's relentless, strategic, and sometimes almost invisible, until it strikes. And yet, even in the wake of destruction, truth, patience, and courage have weight. They endure where fear hopes to conquer. Looking back, I see more than ash and loss. I see survival. I see accountability. I see a reminder that we cannot ignore the small cruelties, the quiet prejudices, the hidden resentments that build into devastation. Each action has a consequence, each choice shapes a life, each injustice must be confronted. So I ask you this: how often do we stay silent when harm hides in plain sight? How many times do we ignore the warning signs until it's too late? This story isn't just about a fire, it's about the courage to stand, the power of evidence, and the unwavering demand for justice. And it's a call to action, to see clearly, to act boldly, and to refuse to let injustice burn unchecked. Because if we do nothing, the flames will always return, and the cost will be immeasurable.